welcome back. It's day 26 and today we're going to talk about holding difficult conversations. Having the confidence to hold those uncomfortable, difficult, sometimes called courageous conversations is not something most of us wake up with or just walk into the office with. Don't get me wrong, some people are lucky enough to have that muscle in place already, but often, particularly if we are naturally strongly empathetic leaders, these conversations are incredibly uncomfortable, and the human condition means that we want to avoid uncomfortable. Well, you probably know by now that such conversations, while uncomfortable, are necessary for us as leaders. So today, I want to dig into some tactics to make these a little bit more comfortable for you. Whether the conversation is with a boss, a peer, or a direct report, here are some principles to help you move forwards more easily on having those uncomfortable but courageous conversations. Now, number one, have a plan. It should go without saying, but how intentional are you with such conversations? A lot of the time when we don't want to do them, we either don't do them at all, or we just like, okay, I'm just going to get it done, and we don't go in with a plan. In fact, this is something I advocate for all conversations, not just the uncomfortable ones. It's something I dig into in detail in my academy, how to be intentional with every single conversation because you get better results. But have a plan. What are you hoping to get out of the conversation? Number two, be direct and be specific. Something that's very hard if you can feel the pain of the person in front of you, I know, which is one of the reasons you need to have a plan in place in step number one, but get straight to the point. And let's get away from that classic sandwich. I'm not going to say the swear word, but you know what I mean, that sandwich. People should be left in no doubt as to the problem that you are trying to address. If it's at all ambiguous, such as your work's been okay, or I can see a slight issue coming up here, or that wasn't very good, was it? How are they going to take action? How is anything going to change? Would you feel confused or just baffled by that? Sometimes that sort of feedback, you're left going, have I done something wrong or not? Don't be that person. Instead, let's be specific. Pay attention in detail to your delivery of what the issue is. Use the right language, and that comes across in actually what you're going to say. For example, rather than saying, well, that wasn't very good, was it? You need to say something like, we need to work on the language you're using with colleagues or customers. Be specific and then generalize by all means and say, this will have an impact in A, B, and C, but start with the specific thing that's an issue in front of you. Point number three, don't make this about personal traits. Don't get me wrong, sometimes this is going to be personal. If you are going to have to let someone go, there are going to be personal conversations that need to happen, right? But in general, if you make it personal, it becomes about their emotions or their attitude, they're going to get more defensive. Instead, ask questions such as, so this happened, help me understand why. That's not about them, it's about the thing that happened. If instead you say, you turned up to that with the wrong attitude, they're going to get defensive and you're not actually going to move either of you through that conversation. Point number four, legitimize their feelings. Now, this is a dangerous line to tread. I want you to legitimize how they're feeling, listen and echo how they're feeling, but you want to be super careful that you give them the space to feel that way without saying that it's an acceptable behavior, right? So for example, you can say phrases such as, I understand you feel, ... insert the words that they said to you. Active listening is a real skill you need to practice if you aren't doing that already. You would say that instead of, I would have done the same thing or felt the same way. That's legitimizing and giving them an excuse for their behavior. They're not going to be forwards. If you say, I understand you feel, you're echoing and giving them space to feel hurt, upset, whatever it is. You want to correct something here, not give them an out. So allow them to feel this way. That's what legitimizing their feelings is about. But don't give them an opportunity to think, oh, she'd have felt the same way, therefore I'm not going to change. That's not what we're here for. Again, this comes into the planning, that's step one, planning. Have an idea of some phrases you can use to really help you through that conversation. And then the fifth and final step, when appropriate, admit you are wrong or where things could have been better. The most important thing as a leader is knowing when you screwed up, when you have changed your mind, when something was wrong, admit it. Sometimes that's going to hurt. Sometimes it might completely derail your career, but I promise you, you are going to be on a better foundation than if you don't do that at all and bury your head in the sand. Now, I don't mean that to scare you. In fact, I've only ever once had somebody who's admitted they're wrong and it really fell apart for them. And honestly, it was a good thing in hindsight because they were kind of in a toxic company that couldn't cope with anybody admitting they were wrong. So guess what? Nobody admitted they were wrong. But admitting you're wrong sometimes is the most powerful thing you can do as a leader. Now, of course, there's a lot more that goes into holding these conversations, which is why I have whole trainings on it in my academy and go into it, cheat sheets and all that sort of stuff with my one-to-one clients and my academy members. But I really hope that this has given you some confidence to have those conversations more often, which is part of the battle, right? Having the confidence to practice. Now, just a final word on this. Don't let go of your empathy. Your empathy for the person in front of you is one of the very good reasons why you are good at your job. If you don't feel uncomfortable seeing someone upset, that's something to work on first, because someone being upset, you should feel uncomfortable. You're a human being. But a lot of people think that they can get good at these conversations if they learn how to turn off their feelings and feeling those other people's emotions. Here's the thing, when you do that, you become the boss that nobody likes, the boss that nobody respects, the boss you never wanted to be. At the end of the day, it's okay if people don't like you, but don't be the boss that you never wanted to be. The trick here is to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable. I always say to people, get comfortable with it being uncomfortable. I talk about that from a growth perspective, but it applies to this as well. You should feel uncomfortable when somebody in front of you is hurting because it's hurtful, it's pain. But the difference is you learn how to process it swiftly. You learn how to hold yourself despite the fact that this person in front of you is upset. You will be a better, more empathetic leader if you can do that. I do want you to learn how to let it go afterwards, not take it home, not think about it, not second guess your decisions, but you should still be okay with feeling the pain that that person is feeling, because that is going to make you the most extraordinary leader. So hold on to your empathy. It is such an important trait. Don't push it away just because these conversations are difficult. In the homework thread, I would love for you to share one conversation you've been reluctant to have. Generalizations are fine. I totally respect privacy, but try and give us some context around a conversation that you've been putting off or you wish you'd done at some point, and then tell us what you're going to do to take action, or in hindsight, if it's been a while ago, what you could have done differently to take action next time. I will see you over in Slack.